Hooters, start your engines!
Green, green, green.
Clarksville, Tennessee's Jeff Purvis started his Hall of Fame winning career in the USAC Late Models NDRA Southern All-Star Dirt Series and All-Pro Super Series, among others. Teaming with Panama City, Florida's James Finch and his Phoenix Construction Company, both looked to move up to super speedway competition, starting their first ARCA race at Talladega in 1989. They would not finish that day, but came back the following year in Morgan McClure equipment and placed second at Talladega. It's then that Purvis began entertaining NASCAR Cup offers from iconic owners like Bobby Allison, Morgan McClure and the number 4 Kodiak car, and Finch himself, even taking the place of Neil Bonnet in the Country Time car following his death in 1994 at Daytona. Purvis and Finch entered the 1993 ARCA season opener at Daytona, and they started it off right by winning their first ever major pole together. At the drop of the green, Jeff and Loy Allen were side by side, but Loy inched ahead at the end of lap 1. Now working on lap 2, Bob Schacht and Tim Fedewa got together in turn 3 and caused the big one, taking out 16 cars in the process. But since Loy and Jeff were well out in front of that, it was now appearing it may be a runaway between the two. After a long cleanup, the race was green flagged again, and other than another quick caution, the number 1 Phoenix Construction Chevy was a guided missile, and Purvis began to lap cars on the 29th circuit, all while keeping Loy, Kirk Shelmerdine, Jeremy Mayfield, and Frank Kimmel behind. But now coming up were pit stops, and the number 1 Finch team decided on gas only, while others also took on 2 tires with their fuel. Purvis took no time in running down Kimmel once back on the track and holding the front spot unchallenged. "It drove good all day long," said Purvis of the car the team bought from Morgan McClure, which just so happened to have won the Daytona 500 the year before with Ernie Irvin driving. By the way, Purvis walked to victory lane after his spoiler check. "They never told me racing was going to be easy," said the winner after running out of gas and forcing his victory lane stroll. He concluded, "It really makes a difference when you get good help." For his first series win, Jeff started on the pole and led 3 times for 71 laps. 53 cars were entered in the race, while 3 cautions for 12 laps and an almost 10-minute red flag slowed the event. Purvis was not the class of the field this day. Starting 11th, he looked to be content to finish 2nd or 3rd. However, within a handful of laps to go, leader Bob Schacht broke an oil line and dropped off the pace, letting Purvis motor to victory. Said the winner from victory lane, "My percentages of winning changed all day long. I stayed surprised all race long." Jeff began his second win 11th and led 3 laps on only 1 occasion. There were 7 cautions for 31 laps. 8 cars were running on the lead lap, and 40 cars started the event. Again, Jeff had stiff competition this November day in 1993 in the form of Tim Fedowa in a Ford and Kerry Teague in an Oldsmobile. But following final pit stops, Teague spun while battling for the lead, giving Jeff back the front spot. While fighting for the lead with only about a dozen laps left, Fedowa, winless in the series, dropped off the pace with engine failure and pulled into the garage and out of the event. Now Jeff's closest pursuer was Dick Trickle, and despite a number of attempts to get back on the lead lap, he did, but only the tail end. So the race now belonged to Purvis. It also gave Chevy their 8th manufacturer's title in 10 years in the series. Purvis, one of 61 cars entered, took the green 4th, then led 61 laps 3 different times. The yellow cautions waved 9 separate times for a count of 44 circuits, as 43 other competitors also raced this day. About time, the Delco Ramey Chevy was the favorite, taking the lead at will and fighting off the likes of Loy Allen, Bill Venturini, and Bobby Bowser. When Allen crashed on the backstretch with a couple of laps to go, it was a race to the yellow and the checkers, where Purvis prevailed over Bobby Bowser by half a length at the line. The crew built this car in about a week and a half, said the winner. This was a big one. Referring to the next day in the Cup race, Purvis stated, "This has got to help a lot. We found out what the tires like, and we found out what the chassis likes." However, they would crash out and not finish the event, placing 35th. For his 4th ARCA Series win, Jeff began from the pole and led 2 times for 38 laps. 42 cars competed in the race, and 30 finished after slowdowns from 6 cautions for 22 laps. This day it was competing refreshment companies in the All Sport 200, while Purvis guided his Country Time Chevy to win number 5 on this hot and sweaty Michigan day. Again, it came down to pit stops, and following a late race round, Jeff was back in the lead and never gave it up. "The car ran well the whole day," stated the victor. "I ran faster during the race than during qualifying. On this hot June afternoon," the winner admitted, "the last 20 laps, my face and back were burning." Jeff began his quest for win number 5, starting second, and led 67 laps on 5 different occasions. There were 5 cautions for 22 laps, and there were 7 cars running on the lead lap at the checkers. Following a month rain delay, teams were back for a doubleheader weekend, with Tim Steele taking race number 1 at the Tricky Triangle. However, Purvis and his team were ready for race number 2. Well, at least they thought they were, having to top off the power steering fluid, having to come down pit road on extended pace laps for a groundhog on the track. Once the green came out, Jeff wasted no time in coming up through the field and into the top spot by lap 29 of 60. A wreck with 8 laps to go forced a caution, and Purvis faked a move to pit road, where Steele and Gary Bradbury took the bait. The race would end under caution following another crash, and the pilot of the white and red Chevy had trophy number 6. Purvis, one of 25 cars to finish, took the green 15th, then led 32 laps after taking the front spot for good on lap 29 of 60. "I tried to conserve the car at the end," said the winner. "The yellow cautions waved 4 separate times for a count of 14 laps." No matter the series, it's hard to win 3 in a row anywhere, including ARCA, and Jeff Purvis was going for the triple at Michigan in 1995. Despite nasty crashes on the almost brand new blacktop, in which everyone escaped serious injury, it was a 1-2 race between Jeff and former champ Tim Steele, swapping the lead back and forth a half a dozen times. Between each of them, it came down to the crews, and on lap 69, when Jeff came in for service, it gave him the 4 fresh Hoosiers he needed for a late run back through the field into the checkers in that 3rd win in 3 years. Said the winning driver, "First one, good car. Second, luck. 3rd, great car." For his 3rd Michigan win in a row, Purvis began the event 4th and pocketed almost $16,000. He had to fend off 17 other cars running at the finish and led 3 times for 42 circuits as the race was slowed 5 times for 36 laps. Jeff Purvis' first and last ARCA wins would come at Daytona, but not without a fight, and that came in the form of pole sitter Mike Skinner in stout Richard Childress equipment. Taking turns disrupting the air around each other's cars during the event, it came down to what happened after pit stops. Skinner beat Jeff out, but Purvis made his way by in traffic and never looked back. I got a little bit of a break there, referring to the last caution for Bob Hill's flip. That one saved me because I couldn't get a run on him, Skinner. He was as good as I was when he was in front of me. We just had a great race car. What can I say? Jeff's 8th and final ARCA victory came following a 4th place start, with 3 cautions for 12 circuits and 8 drivers finishing on the lead lap. 52 cars were entered, 25 were running at the finish, and Purvis led twice for 35 times around, while 4 others led at least 1 circuit. That 1996 win at Daytona would not only be Jeff Purvis's last in the ARCA Series, but also his last ever ARCA start as well. He went on to BGN success with wins in 1996, like here at Richmond and Michigan International Speedway, driving for Finch, as well as owners like Joe Gibbs and Larry Lockamy, and this 2001 start driving for Richard Childress at Pikes Peak and the win there. However, in 1998, on lap 142 of 300, Purvis and Mark Green had a run-in at the BGN race at the South Boston Speedway in Virginia. As you can see here, the normally calm Purvis was irate, having to be restrained by crew chief Johnny Allen. He was fined $10,000, and on appeal, they doubled his suspension to 4 races and placed him on probation for the rest of the season. He was sitting 14th in the standings, which essentially took him out of the point hunt for the remainder of the year. In an ironic twist of fate, Jeff would drive for Green's team in 2002. 4 short years later, Jeff did win the Texas BGN race for car owner Clarence Brewer and crew chief Terry Shirley driving that number 37. However, only 3 short months later at Nazareth, Purvis was hit by Greg Biffle in a crash during another BGN race. This accident, which Jeff claims he doesn't even remember, would sideline him for 2 years. However, in 2004, he returned to the seat at Nazareth, the same place that almost took his life, for Finch, his last professional start in any stock car series. While heading to a 2006 dirt race in which Clay, their son, was going to be competing, Jeff, Margot, and others were involved in a traffic accident which burned their toter and their contents all to the ground. It did break Jeff's back and neck for the second time in 2 years, and though he still expresses an interest in racing and driving, he has since shared that he understands now more proper and important priorities in life. In 2007, Jeff and his wife Margot were honored by their home county of Montgomery on behalf of their work for the American Cancer Association.